Welcome to Disability News and Views, a production of the City of Boston's Mayor's Commission for People with Disabilities. It's March, which means it's Women's History Month, and we have a great show in store for you today. For our community conversation with our co-host, Ken Meyer, we're going to hear from longtime Boston resident Desiree Forte, who's going to talk to us about the importance of mentoring for women and girls with disabilities. And after that, we get to hear our own Chief of Staff, Andrea Patton, speak with Emma Staff from the Office of Women's Advancement. We have such a great show in store for you this month. Let's get right to it. I'm going to kick it over to our co-host, Ken.
Thank you very much, Colleen. Desi, yeah, I love it. You have a very famous first name. I think that's
exciting.
All right. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you got involved in the disability community.
Yeah, so my name is Desiree Forte. I live in the south end of Boston, and I am 37 years old, and I'm a power wheelchair user. I've had a disability since for my entire life, so since birth. And I've always been a proud disabled woman, and so being very involved with the disability community has just come naturally to me.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved and work with Easter Seals and also teaching disability history.
Yeah, so I'm the youth program manager at Easter Seals, Massachusetts, and I first got involved with Easter Seals by being a part of their programs for young people with disabilities. And from there, got a passion in supporting young people with disabilities, and am now excited to be the youth program manager and leading these programs, including our female mentoring programs, our youth leadership programs, and our hashtag Teach Disability History campaign.
Okay. What can you tell us about younger women who are just coming into the disability world?
Yeah, well, as a disabled woman myself, I understand firsthand the power of being able to see, have mentors and see people like me achieving things in different ways, and Thrive brings that to women over the age of 14 in Massachusetts with disabilities by creating a group of empowered women with disabilities.
Do you find there are people that have a hard time accepting their disability? And if so, how do you manage to counteract that?
Definitely. Everyone is at a different point in their disability journey. As I said before, I'm proud to have a disability. I'm proud to be part of the disability community, and that's been a big part of me for most of my life. But I only can speak for myself. I know that everyone is at a different point in that journey, and will not always get to the same point. Where not everyone will be the same as I am, and I understand and acknowledge that. And working with young people with disabilities and young women with disabilities, we want to just make people aware and expose them to what's available, and letting them see older individuals with disabilities and what they can achieve. And also through our hashtag Teach Disability History campaign, we want to promote the importance of teaching disability history, because we want people to see the impact that individuals with disabilities have had on society, and to see themselves represented in history. I often say disability is a culture, and so this culture is something that needs to be represented within history classes, and that's why we promote teaching disability history.
What, if anything, have you learned in teaching disability history that you did not know before you started?
Yeah, so our campaign, which is all about promoting the importance of teaching disability history, we it's a young adult led campaign, so it's led by young people with disabilities. And they through this campaign, teaching disability history has always, not always, but since I started learning about it through programs that I now have the privilege of facilitating, is when I first really became aware of disability history, and that was not until my college years. And so it's I've found that it's so important to teach and to promote to others.
Okay. How have women pushed the disability movement forward?
That's an amazing question. But I know that it's March, it's Women's History Month, and it's specifically with disabled women's history. Someone that immediately comes to mind for me is Judith Heumann. Judy was an amazing advocate who helped to push instrumental disability legislation, including Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. And Judy is someone who I look up to and had the honor of meeting a few times. And she left a huge impact on this community. And Judy is someone who I did not learn about growing up. I did not learn about her until after I was done with school. And so just trying to understand and conceptualize what impact that would have had on me if I had learned about her earlier during school, during development. And I know how that has that can have an impact on both people with and without disabilities, and no matter where they are in their disability journey, to see the things that she did, to see what other amazing disabled women did throughout history. And a lot of times there's women that we learn about in history, including women like Harriet Tubman, who was instrumental in the movement, and she was a woman with a traumatic brain injury, and that piece of history is not often is really never talked about. And so for someone, we already learned about Harriet Tubman, but there's people that could identify with her even more if they knew about her disability.
Now, last question. How can people with or without disabilities want to help? If they want to help and get involved in your organization, what do they do about it?
Definitely. So they can reach out to us by emailing us at youth@eastersealsma.org. We also have a great website specifically for our Teach Disability Histories campaign and how to get involved with that, which is tdh.eastersealsma.org. And all this information will also be shared.
Well, listen, congratulations and good luck. I did some work with Easter Seals a long time ago. I recorded promos for them during a telethon, and I know what a great organization they are, and I'm sure a great asset that you are to them. So continued good luck, and maybe we'll talk again sometime.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And Andrea Patton, I am going to kick it back to you for another amazing guest on this program.
Thank you so much, Ken. And it was so great to hear about all the great work that's happening over at Easter Seals. So thank you, Desi, for joining us. But yes, turning to our City of Boston Department interview, as Desi said, it's March, it's Women's History Month. And wouldn't you know it, we have an Office of Women's Advancement here in the city. So Emma, thanks for joining us on Disability News and Views. Please introduce yourself and tell us about your department.
Hi, Andrea. It's so nice to be here with you all. I'm Emma. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the policy director for the Office of Women's Advancement, which is in the Equity Cabinet along with the Disabilities Commission. So we focus on a variety of different issues impacting women and girls, from economic equity to health, safety, and representation. We do all sorts of different things, from workers' rights trainings to menstrual equity programs, working on gender-based violence and healthy pregnancies and births. So quite a variety of different issues that are facing women and girls in the city.
That is a really long list of programs to be working on, and a lot of really important things that I know have intersections with disability for sure. Um, so it is Women's History Month. Are there anything specific that you'll be doing this month here in March, events or programming that you all have planned?
Yes, we've got quite the calendar thanks to our lovely program manager, Haley Smith. So in MOA, we always say that every month is History Month, but March is definitely a time to celebrate. So we have a ribbon cutting for some new menstrual equity or menstrual product dispensers that are going up in City Hall. That's happening on March 1st. We have a women's artist reception on March 7th. And then the statewide International Women's Day celebration is being held on March 8th. And that's something that MOA, our office, has been a part of for a long time. And it's a cool opportunity to bring together different women and feminist organizations from across the state. And then on March 18th, we're partnering with the Office of Worker Empowerment to do a women's workers' rights training. March 22nd is our big event, Extraordinary Women, where we recognize 40 incredible women from across the city for the work that they're doing. And then on March 26th, we're partnering with the Disabilities Commission to do a lunch and learn about women's history and disability rights history. And then March 31st, we've got a collaboration to close out the month with the Office of LGBTQ Advancement, focusing on Trans Visibility Day. Because in MOA, when we say women, we say anyone that identifies as a woman. And we have a really expansive idea of what that means. So quite the packed agenda, and we hope that some of you will join us for the events this month.
That is a packed agenda, and yes, we are part of it. We'll definitely be seeing you at Extraordinary Women event. We know that there are some extraordinary women who are also disabled women and love to make those intersectional connections. And we're definitely looking forward to our lunch and learn, which will be open to the public at the Civic Pavilion on City Hall Plaza, because there is such overlap in the unfortunate struggles that have been placed by oppressive systems on our communities, and we know that there's real overlap there, and also great times for bonding and sharing at those events as well. So with that in mind, what does what does Women's History Month, I almost said Disability History Month, mean to you personally and professionally as in the role that you're in?
Yeah, absolutely. This year's theme, I think, for disability for the International Women's Day in Massachusetts is we're taking a really intergenerational focus. I think that's a really interesting way of thinking about women's history because we know that we're standing on shoulders of giants. We're able to have a women's advancement office because of the work of the people that came before us. But we also know that women have had really different experiences, whether it's related to race, disability, gender identity, sexuality. And so how do we honor those different experiences and how those experiences evolve over time, while also understanding that as people who identify as women, we all have something that is shared. And so I think it's this really delicate balance between recognizing the diversity of the space and then also our collective power and our shared experiences.
You said that so eloquently. We have different experiences, but there's also power in that shared experience. I think that's a really, really lovely way to think about the events that you have this month. And it also, ties really well into the work that we do as a fellow cabinet or fellow department in the Equity and Inclusion Cabinet, right? Where we're all in the E&I cabinet working to get equity and inclusion systemically, right? Because it's not just one office that should care about the advancement of women, not just one office that should care about the rights of disabled people in the city. We're really trying to push all that across the city. And so I'm wondering if you can tell our viewers a little bit about how your office is doing that work, that systemic work across the city of Boston.
Absolutely. I think as a cabinet, like our goal is to work ourselves out of a job, right? We do nothing alone and we always want to be collaborating with other offices. So I kind of touched on it earlier, but in March we have these wonderful collaborations with arts and culture, with worker empowerment, with your commission, but we also have some other work that's happening behind the scenes. We've been partnering with the Boston Public Health Commission to kind of think about the city's approach to gender-based violence, and also to making sure that all people in the city have healthy pregnancies and births. We also, for our menstrual equity pilot program, where we're trying to end period poverty by putting menstrual products in libraries and at City Hall available for free. We've been collaborating with property management and then the libraries on that as well. So I think we're always stronger when we work across different departments, and that's the model that we really want to follow.
Live and in the moment, I'm thinking that we should talk about some other efforts that we'd love to get into the BPLs and into the BCYF centers and into city buildings across the city. Ways that we can add some other resources that I've got floating in my mind. So we should definitely follow up on that. So I know you mentioned the lunch and learn session that Kai and Hallie are working on. Are there other sort of public events? I know you mentioned a lot of those ones from Women's History Month, but are there other projects like that that you all are working on to, as Dizzy would say, teach disability history, teach women's history? Are there other efforts that you've got going on that really bring folks into understanding the history of the community?
Yeah, so I think that Lunch and Learn is a really great example of some of the work that we're doing. I think one thing that when Kai and I sat down, and Haley as well, and looked at, what do we want the focus to be? Originally, we were thinking about focusing solely on economic equity. And we quickly realized that there's just so much more alignment in disability history and women's history beyond economic equity. We're thinking about the impact that the eugenics movement has today in women's history. We really see a continued impact of forced sterilization, forced experimentation that happened when gynecology was being founded. We know that that is still present in the medical world today for people with disabilities and for women. Voting rights issues, struggles to achieve financial independence. And as Desi mentioned, there are just women who were key to both movements, right? And disabled people who were key to both movements. Like, these are not two separate areas of work. And when we think about what is our vision for the future, it's one where women, people with disabilities, can all, have equal access to their rights and the services that the city provides. So I'm really excited for the lunch and learn, because I think we'll get to go into more of that and really see the overlap between the two movements.
And hopefully we'll have some folks join us who can help us think about how, the overlap to the next steps, right? What overlap can our offices do to collaborate on, moving these issues forward, not just looking back, but looking forward.
And I think there's one piece of that that's coming to mind right now that I'm thinking, Andrea, we should have a conversation about, is in the work that our office is doing to support people who are giving birth in the city. I know that there's a lot of barriers for people with disability when it comes to childbirth, but also just like the full spectrum of reproductive care. And, even something as simple as being able to get up on an exam table or access, have a doctor that knows what to do when you roll into the room or you walk into the room. So I think that's something that our office could partner on.
Yeah, definitely. Regular viewers may know that our advisory board has looked at issues like that before. A lot of doctors in surveys say they don't know how to get an ASL interpreter if a deaf, client came into their office, a deaf patient came into their office. So definitely some overlap in ongoing ways to make the medical world more open and inclusive and understanding of disability. Sounds like we've got several meetings to set up, which is great. And this is why we love these conversations on disability news and views, to, let folks know about the work happening behind the scenes. A lot of our work and a lot of your work isn't always public. It's not always events. It's not always public events, but it's always happening behind the scenes to bring better services. If you are interacting with the libraries, with a hospital, with property management in some way. So we've definitely got our work cut out for us. But before we end, is there anything else that you would like viewers of Disability News and Views to know about your office, your work, or what's ahead?
Yeah, I think as I've shared, we have a really great calendar of events for March. You can follow us at Boston Women on Instagram, on social media platforms, but we also can be reached at bostonwomen@boston.gov. That's our email address. It'll be up on the screen. And we really welcome any feedback or questions, concerns, happy to share information, resources, all of that.
Amazing. Yes, we will put up your email. Desi's email was up earlier on the screen. We'll make sure that is up for folks. And as always, if people want to email us at disability@boston.gov, we'll forward you to the appropriate office or nonprofit that you're looking to reach. So thank you so much, Emma, and I will see you in a little bit for some more meetings. But thank you, Ken. Thank you, Desi, for another fantastic episode of Disability News and Views. Happy Women's History Month, everyone. And we'll see you out there at the events, hopefully later this month.